Hello and welcome to your first ever episode of Core Balance Hanging. And yes, I do have my shirt off. I'm going to be demonstrating some core hanging, which is something that I have been doing in my life as a decompression and relief technique on a pretty regular basis for many years now. And I think it's finally time I share it. We're going to try and just keep this super simple. It doesn't have to be complicated with hanging. Focus on one thing, which is core connection. And that is what I believe is the most important thing to get the direct benefits on your core and your spine when performing hanging activity like this. So the first kind of lesson is you don't have to have an actual pull-up bar to do hanging. Before I moved into this office, I would hang off an orange tree branch right at our backyard here. And most likely, if you get creative around your house, you can find something to hang from, whether it's a part of a staircase or like this is a loft or just a beam randomly above your desk. That's the first thing I wanted to go over, is just you can find something to hang from. And the second is, if you're afraid of not being able to do this because you're not strong enough to hold your body weight, absolutely you can do this. Hanging doesn't have to be 100% of your full body weight. It can be any fraction, any percentage of your body weight that you want. And so we're going to talk about how to support your weight partially while hanging, and then we're also just going to demonstrate a phenomenal way to create decompression in your spine, in your lower back. And we're going to prioritize the abdominal muscles. So the main connection you want to have is from your rib cage here to the pubic bone, and your abdominal muscles are the main connection there. And you want to imagine them as like a rope or a group of ropes. And you want those ropes to be taut throughout the hang. And if you don't do that, then gravity is just going to choose typically the weakest link to hang through. So not always the best place to get decompression. So you want to have some control over that. You want to choose where the force of the hang goes through. Best way to get the most benefit from hanging is to keep your abdominal muscles tight. And I'll demonstrate that right now. So I showed you the bar I'm going to be hanging from right here. The first thing I can just show you is a relaxed hang. You can see my rib cage flaring out, and this doesn't feel very decompressing for my spine. And so if I engage my abdominals, you can see that the rib flare disappears and there is more of a straight line. You can see what happens to my pelvis when I connect. So I'm disconnected, I'm going to connect, my pelvis comes forward, my pubic bone comes forward. And I actually came prepared to demonstrate this from a side view. So this is disconnected. You can see rib flare. And when I connect, you can see that the pelvis comes forward, the pubic bone comes forward. You also might have noticed that I wasn't hanging straight up and down. That's because my feet are on the floor and I'm supporting a percentage of my body weight with my feet. Ideally, your hang bar is tall enough that you can be off the ground to some degree, but low enough that you can still stand. I'm standing right now and I can control the amount of weight that I put into my body because I can take some weight off of my legs. It's a really easy way to be able to control how much force is going through your hang. And as soon as you are able to make that connection with your abdominals and maintain that connection and give your spine a little decompression, you're going to feel the benefits. So this is what a full hang looks like. If you want to go 100% body weight, you can just lift your knees up. And notice I do one knee at a time. I have that connection in place, and it's a lot less stressful on the spine to do one leg at a time, or you can alternate. And you can just hang. This is an opportunity to add some movements. If you notice, I never lose connection. If you notice, I continue to breathe. And so this is an advanced way to do an exercise like the back anchor progression if you're in the program, or if you're not in the program, it's a pretty simple priority. The goal is to maintain that rope taut throughout the entire hang. And if you let go of the tautness of that rope, if you disconnect, then it could potentially, if you notice, I'll show you one more time. When I'm disconnected and I'm hanging, there is a lot of arch in my lower back. and that potentially could have a negative effect on your back. So this is disconnected, connected. And I can put my feet up. Disconnected. That's not decompression. That is not decompression on the lower back. That is decompression. So you can see the difference, how important it is to have that abdominal connection. And so we're going to add the last element, which is if you want to get a phenomenal level of decompression in your spine. If you're in the program, you already know that we teach a breathing technique for decompression. You're going to add that breathing into your lower back to the hang. So one more time. So you can't really see it, but I will just go ahead and breathe into my lower back. Exhale. So I have that stool there. I'm going to be tapping it. So this is a relaxed hang. And you can put your feet up on the stool now. Relaxed, connected. And so you can turn it into a supported tap. Or you can go unsupported. And you do a round of 10 breaths like that, you're going to feel different in your spine, your lower backs. Just so you guys know, I do this not every day, but on an as-needed basis. I do spend a lot of time on the computer, which is not good for the spine. And so I'll just reach up and grab. If I start feeling my back, I'll reach up and grab and do a couple breaths. If you want to try and turn it into an exercise, 10 breaths is a really good length of time. I prefer to count breaths rather than seconds because it encourages the focus on the breath rather than trying to focus on seconds and breathing. You know, the more body weight you're putting into your hang, the less time you're going to be able to hang. Usually the forearm muscles are what go first. But the other factor is if you do less body weight, you might be able to get your abdominal muscles to fatigue first, which is a great abdominal exercise. If you feel like this stream, this topic of hanging for decompression might help somebody, so hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and see you next week, everyone.